welcome back to Mystic Like My Mama, a podcast presented by Ask Penjie. I'm Isabella, and this is my mama, Tina, and we are a mother-daughter duo and the co-founders of Ask Penjie. In this show, we'll talk about accessing your intuition and how we integrate ancient wisdom into our modern lives. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back. Bella, I'm so proud of us. I'm actually super proud of episode 15.
I know, now it's pretty serious.
Now it's pretty serious.
I we're gonna start with talking about something I was telling you yesterday. What did I say? Okay, we were talking about how I want so many things. I love manifesting. I'm always desiring, I'm always dreaming. I've done that since I'm little. I'm like addicted to dreaming. And which is not a bad thing to be addicted to if you have to be. Um, and we were talking about how I want to travel and I feel sometimes guilty for wanting things that I want. Like I feel like I shouldn't. I look at other people who don't want that or they're content or haven't done as much as I've done and I feel like, "Oh, I should be grateful for what I have done or what I have and why am I desiring something else?" Right? Why am I not content? And then you told me, what did you tell me?
Well, as long as you're going to be alive, you're going to desire things. You're going to desire experiences, people, things, manifestations, everything that you can ever dream of and more. And the truth is, I think that we are often taught that it's not okay to have those desires, and we kind of talk ourselves out of them. And so then I was saying this is perfect because this actually is a topic that I wanted to talk about on the shoure
Hmm.
So, yeah, so it was great that you said it. But the truth is I have always encouraged you, to constantly like desire things because you're gonna do that the rest of your life, and that's just something I had to learn over time. And so that's something I really wanted you guys to know, and I wanted you to feel safe in doing that, and kind of give you a um honestly, like give you permission to do that, and and then explain why it's important. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, that's what we're going to get into today is that feeling of when gratitude can sometimes get in the way. So we'll get into all of that after our card pull.
Yes, let's do the card reading. So actually, we're going to switch the deck up a little bit because it's very intuitive. Being psychic and intuitive means you just kind of go with the feeling or the message that you hear. And I thought that we should do this deck today. It's called Ask and It Is Given, and it's by the teachings of Abraham. And as you know, I have been studying Abraham for like the past 20 years and listening and learning. And it's all about the law of attraction and desire. So it's perfect for today. And yeah, so let's choose a card. And this deck also does not have like a booklet, so it's open to your interpretation. So we're just going to do a collective card pull for today. This is the deck, so I'm going to mix it up and just think about something that you are desiring. Think about something that you've wanted to give yourself permission to dream about and, um, put on your wish list. It says, my attention to it invites it in. It kind of looks like somebody's blowing a bubble. For anyone that's listening on audio, I love that you reminded me to share that, Bella. People can't see the card. And it almost looks like it's what you speak about, right? Like what you're speaking your desire. And then the back of the card has this message that I'm going to read to you guys. It says, every thought that you give your attention to expands and becomes a bigger part of your vibrational mix. Whether it is a thought of something you want or a thought of something you do not want, your attention to it invites the essence of it into your experience.
Ooh, okay.
So, when we learn about desire and the law of attraction, I really like that message because it reminds us that what you focus on expands and we are energetic, magnetic beings. So, if you spend a lot of time focusing on something that you don't want, you can also invite that into your world because you're focusing on it. And the universe,
Absolutely, yeah.
yeah, it just kind of gives you what you focus on. It doesn't say like it doesn't judge you like, "Oh, that's not good," or "That's not good." It just gives you. So it teaches us to be mindful of where we focus our energy and our thoughts and our words and everything like that.
I love it. It's a good card.
Okay, amazing. So do you want to roll us into our topic for
Yes.
today?
Today's episode is called The Dangers of Gratitude, which is a really interesting, jarring topic, but we'll get into what that actually means. If you've been anywhere in the mindset, wellness, self-growth, personal development world, you've definitely heard people talk about the power of gratitude and encourage it and talk about it in, you know, like manifestation and desire and how gratitude plays such a big role in all of those things. But today we're going to actually talk about the opposite effect, which is the dangers of gratitude. On Mom's other show, because she has another show, because she's a podcasting veteran over here, Mom had a show called The Prana Show, which you can still go listen to. And on episode 63, she talks about the gifts of gratitude. So that's kind of like the sister episode to today's topic. Gratitude is so powerful, but it can be something we misuse.
I know it's going to sound really controversial, and I actually really haven't heard anybody talk about it before, but it's been something that's on my mind for a long time. And I think that it really can be misunderstood, misused, misrepresented, mistaught. I don't know if that's a word, but like, taught to people in a way that doesn't feel good always. And I think it can be weaponized. Just like
Interesting.
anything. And everything has like two sides to it, right?
Interesting. So we're going to get into that today. And I also think context is important. A lot of times people tell you to be grateful or have gratitude, but context is important. People don't always read the situation. So we're going to get into all of that today, the dangers of gratitude. I want to start with asking you, what do you actually mean by saying the dangers of gratitude? Like when we're stating that, what's like, where do we start? What does this mean?
Okay. So, well, what I feel about gratitude, it's very, very, very powerful, right? The theme of gratitude. To me, gratitude is like a practice, right? It's like a method, it's a process. And the good news is that the whole show that we're talking about today, nobody has to spend money, nobody has to do anything. It's just a simple kind of like shift of your mindset, right? It's like changing your mind and just understanding it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And
Got it.
so when we talk about the dangers of gratitude, what I'm saying and what I mentioned earlier is that I feel that it can be used as a weapon when somebody tells us what to do or somebody tells us how to use gratitude in a way that could actually cause more harm.
Mm-hmm.
So gratitude being a practice, and to me, gratitude creates a feeling of appreciation. So I would say appreciation is the feeling that is the effect of, you know, a gratitude practice. So gratitude is like the what maybe the activity or the action that you do, right? Or the thought process that you have in
Yeah.
order to get to a feeling of appreciation.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just think that it's not discussed enough. And we're going to get into it, like,
Mm-hmm.
why I feel this way. But I always think of these things, like I always think of like, oh, that just doesn't feel good. And how come no one talks about that? And that's kind of why I wanted to discuss it today.
Yeah, it's just going further on
A
a
little deeper.
theme, a little deeper on a theme that everyone's kind of aware of, but no one really gets into the nitty-gritty. How can gratitude keep someone stuck? What is, how do we get stuck in gratitude?
Okay. Um, the way that I would explain this, the very first thing that I feel is when we get into comparison. And I
Mm,
think we can compare our lives to other people. And, I read this book years ago by this author, Dr. Edith Eger, who just recently passed away, who was in the Holocaust.
oh
And
wow.
I remember learning like what she was talking about with comparison. And, we often do that. We compare our lives to others. So I
Yes.
think right away, when we are, going to gratitude, it's because we are comparing it to somebody else's suffering. So we're not like staying in our world, in our problems, in our life, in our emotions. We're right away using gratitude almost as a weapon against ourselves to, you know, talk ourselves out of what we're experiencing, right? And
Yeah,
change our
absolutely.
mind.
Similar to what I was saying at the start of the episode, where
Right.
I had this desire. I always want to travel. I always want to do these things, and then I was talking myself, which is very rare for me. I don't do that normally. I'm pretty. I'd say I'm pretty balanced in my gratitude, but I was feeling so overwhelmed. I felt like I shouldn't want these things, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you didn't even, and the thing is we don't even need someone to talk us out of it. We
Hmm.
do it ourselves.
Yes.
So if you say something like, someone has it worse, like, there's people who have never even been on an airplane before. Like, I mean, that has nothing to do with anything. Like we don't know people's lives, their soul contracts. Like, I'm not saying we don't care about other people, but when we're in that moment and we're, desiring or dreaming about something, we can literally talk ourselves out of starting a business, having a relationship, applying to a new job. Like we can, and then we kind of dismiss and settle for what we're reaching for. And so now here's the thing. We we can actually appreciate the things that we have and the life that we have on the way to the life we're building. So
I
like
love
you can
that.
you can go to work every day and say you don't want to work at a 9 to 5 job, right? Just as an example.
Yeah.
You have a bigger dream of, opening a bakery. That's like amazing. And I love this quote that says you're never given a dream without the means to attain it. Like, and we all have different dreams placed in our heart. You and I have talked about that, right? Because you
Mhm.
have wanted to do things in your life where you're like, I just don't understand. Does everybody want to do this? And I kept telling you, I don't. Like, I have a different dream in my heart. Like, everyone has a different dream placed in their heart based on their dharma and their soul contracts. And you can be in appreciation and you can have a gratitude practice that says, I'm really grateful for this job that I have. And I'm so excited to open my bakery. Let me go home at night and work on it for 2 to 3 hours after my workday and be in that creation and form that desire, right? But you don't want to say,
Yeah.
well, I should just be happy that I have a job. I should just be, you know what I mean? I should be grateful. And then actually what happens too, I think this can be common generationally, right? So like older generations might talk us out of our dreams because they want us to be safe or they want us to make a different decision or
Mhm.
they don't want to have to worry about us or they're afraid of us taking a risk, whether it be a friend or a parent or a family member. So I think it can be very dangerous, right? To tell somebody your desire because right away they'll say, what? You have like the best job ever. Why would you possibly want to like quit and have a bakery? Like, so people can often talk us out of our dreams. And so, when I say the dangers of gratitude, I'm not really talking about physically. Well, there is probably a physical side effect actually if we go deeper, but I'm not talking about it physically like it's harmful, right? But
Yeah.
it's mentally and emotionally dangerous because it can kill all of your dreams, right? And it can hold you
Absolutely.
back and
Yeah.
it can stop you from, advancing and living your best life.
Yeah. Wow. Very true. I've caught myself experiencing that. What is forced gratitude look like? What does forced gratitude look like and where does it come from? This is something we've talked about before, kind of like forcing
Yeah.
gratitude in a
Well,
moment.
it's the same thing. We do it to ourselves or someone does it to us. And by forced gratitude, I want to be using these words and this terminology because I want people to feel comfortable exploring the concept of gratitude and
Mhm.
appreciation. I want people to have discussions. I want people to ask questions. I want you to inquire and I want you to think deeper than automatically, talking yourself out of your desires, right? So when
Yeah.
I say forced gratitude, it usually comes from yourself because you have self-imposed ideas of how your life should look or things like that. Or like I said, it comes from outside of us. So it's kind of like it's almost like peer pressure, but the opposite of peer pressure. And what happens is when people have a desire to grow, or maybe they have a desire, you've heard that saying, people are the product of the 5 people they spend the most time with, or things like that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
might hang out with a bunch of people who are like your best friends or your best coworkers or your favorite family members, but they may talk you out of your dreams and your desires because they're going beyond the concept of where they exist vibrationally and dream wise. So if you're like studying personal growth, like us, right? We went to go see Brennan Bouchard, Ed Milet. If you're seeing people who are big dreamers and have accomplished things people could never imagine, and you're thinking of upgrading, that sort of leaves people behind. And people sometimes
Yeah.
don't understand our desire to grow. And it makes them feel bad, or it can make them feel maybe insecure that they're not following their dream because they have like a little spark in them that they're not listening to and they're not honoring
Mhm.
because maybe they're afraid, or maybe somebody told them that they should be grateful for their life and they shouldn't grow.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I meant by like, performing it, and like, it would be like you saying, like, God, I really want to go to Paris. And you'd be like, I have no business going to Paris. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I live in California and I
Yeah,
should
like
just be grateful.
forcing it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like, oh my God, I want this thing, but I should just be grateful for what I have right
exactly.
the second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is kind of not e forced gratitude is almost not even real gratitude because it's gratitude is supposed to come from that I don't know, I don't love the word pure, but it's supposed to come from that pure place of just feeling, joy or love for something. It shouldn't have, it's not obligatory, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that it's forced gratitude makes it become like what's the word, oxymoron, or like
Yeah. It's like the opposite. It's
it's
like,
almost not real. It's not gratitude if you're forcing the gratitude.
it's
Which-
also, yeah, it's not coming from within. So they talk about extrinsic and intrinsic, right? So it's like intrinsic gratitude would be coming from within. It would be like, oh, I'm going to do this, gratitude practice in the morning and I'm going to appreciate, these certain things in my life. And you also, like we don't want to appreciate things that are harmful or things that harm us, like hurt us, right? Like, um, so that kind of gets into the next topic actually that we were going to talk about,
Yes,
which is like,
which is what is emotional dismissal and spiritual bypassing.
yes, and I have a whole podcast plan for emotional dismissal and what I feel like that is. But what I just briefly I want to explain what that is to me. Um, it's it's feeling a certain way and wanting to push past what we might think of as a negative feeling. So, say we're having an emotion, say we're like really angry, right? And instead of feeling that anger, instead of moving that emotion through us, whether somatically and, or by journaling or anything like that, we're not allowing ourselves to have it because we or somebody that we know won't let us be in that negative place. And I don't even love the words negative and positive. I'd rather us view emotions as like, how does it feel? Like, how does that emotion feel in your body? Does it feel good? Does it feel, contracting? Does it feel uncomfortable? Does it cause you to have a tummy ache? Like things like that. Because there are really no bad emotions. There's just emotions.
Yeah. So in many ways, it's almost invalidating when
Yeah,
it's
so we're invalidating ourselves or someone is invalidating us. Like, so say you're like, I'm really, really angry. And someone says to you, well, you shouldn't be angry. It's so sunny out. Look at the sunny day. It's like so beautiful. Why would you be angry on this beautiful day? And you're like, well, something happened. Like, I feel angry. Like, I just experienced something in my life. So, again, it's something we can do to ourselves or somebody does to us where we dismiss what we're feeling. And people like to refer to this also as like, spiritual bypassing or toxic positivity. And we're not looking to do that because the danger of that forced gratitude, the extrinsic gratitude that comes from somebody making us or reminding us to be grateful, the feeling doesn't get processed. The emotion doesn't
yeah.
move through your body.
It's an illusion of positivity because you're really you still have to deal with the emotion at the end of the day because it doesn't go anywhere.
Right. So you're going to maybe pause the emotion and it's going to resurface later when it's not
Mhm.
convenient or, and again, I remember when you guys were little. Like we always made time for emotions. We always did. But there was like a time we were going to the airport and we were like getting picked up and we had to go. And I kept saying, I promise you this means so much to me that you're feeling this way. We're going to talk about it. But once we get in the car or once we get to the airport, because we like need to make a flight, like, in general, we make time for emotions, but what I mean when I talk about people dismissing emotions, it's really pretty much most people never have time for emotions.
It's just like you feel this way, someone says you shouldn't feel this way. And
Hmm.
then that makes you stop in your tracks and go, "Oh, I shouldn't feel this way." Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're
Like,
like, well,
am I
that's so weird
crazy?
because I do feel this way. Like, what
Yeah,
do I
I
do
do feel
now?
this way. And then, and most of the time emotions are not logical. So
Mhm.
then you're logically trying to break down your emotion when really you just needed to feel it and move on. But I don't know if this is a good time or if you want me to slide it in later, but I have an analogy kind of that I caught.
I love it. Go for it.
Because we were talking about the forced gratitude, and I was thinking what's like a quick way to explain the
Mhm.
difference, like for me and my body. I feel like um natural gratitude that just comes through us, that's like Buddhism, that's just the real deal. It feels like when you get a fresh, delicious, hot cup of coffee that's like your favorite order, and you have this feeling like, you sip it, it smells good, it tastes good, it's warm, your body's warm, and you have this joy, right? But it's not necessary, you're not actively thinking like, wow, I have the money and the means and the time to be able to get this cup of coffee. You're just having this like wash of feeling of, I love this coffee and I'm really like enjoying this moment. Maybe it makes you present, right? That's like the action of gratitude. It's a moment of presence and awareness around like a pleasant thing, right? And then forced gratitude to me feels like when I'm trying to convince myself of something and I whip out a piece of paper and I'm like, I love my pillow and my toothbrush and I am grateful for all of those things, but I want to be in a place where when I'm brushing my teeth, I'm thinking about how good it feels to have clean teeth, not thinking I owe it my I owe it to I owe it to myself as a good person for the people who don't have things to list everything that I'm grateful for right now because that doesn't feel natural and that's not also yeah, so my analogy was it's the feeling, like imagine yourself receiving something you love, like a cup of coffee or
Yeah.
in that moment of presence, of energy. It does that, do you agree? Does that feel?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a really good example, but I mean, the only reason we really, okay, the only reason, I don't want to say the only reason, one of the reasons we even teach or inspire people to have a gratitude practice
Mhm.
is because they're not doing it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you only have to practice something you're not really good at. Once you do it, it becomes pretty natural. If you like listen to Abraham, right? Like I did, right? What it did for me was it put me I don't want to say a constant state of appreciation, but it put me in a more practiced version of myself where I'm appreciating more and more as just my way of life.
Yeah,
It's like,
gratitude became a habit and
yeah,
like a,
like a
a
lifestyle.
lifestyle, a habitual like
Yeah.
essence rather than yeah, like a little checklist.
Yes, exactly. And we're going to talk about it in coming up. I'm going to give more examples, but it's it's funny in my mind it's like so clear, but when you try to explain it to someone, like I'm trying to like get it out in the right way.
Of
Uh,
course, it's a big concept.
yeah, it's a big concept and I just don't like when somebody pushes something on me, right? And
Yeah.
somebody tries to move me to feel something that I'm not feeling, right? And I just think when we emotional dismissal is when we cancel, we somebody tries to get us or we do it, we cancel what we're feeling. It's like just acknowledge in this moment that's what I'm feeling. Like I'm really scared, right? And
Mhm.
somebody might say like, there's nothing to be afraid of. Just be grateful that you have like, a roof over your head and you're like not, you know what I mean? Like it's just everybody uses it, I think, as a weapon, but they don't mean that. They're not doing it to be mean. They're trying to lift us up and they're trying to support us. They're trying to be there for us. Like,
Well, I don't think it's always positive intent. I think sometimes people aren't equipped. People don't like emotions. People don't have time for it. They don't have space.
yeah,
They're
or
also
patience. Yeah.
judgmental because they're probably shoving stuff down that they don't want to process. So
That's true.
they're
That's
like,
true.
why are you feeling your feelings?
Yeah, it's not always kind.
I'm
We're gonna
not.
get to that
So
actually.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
yeah, it comes from all different places.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
Next one was, what do you mean by don't should on yourself? Which sounds awfully close to something else. But what do you mean by
Yeah.
don't should on yourself or others?
Okay. There is a point where gratitude is performative, right? You're doing it to do the right thing, to have good manners, things like that. When I say like people shoulding on someone else, right? It's when you say you should do this, you should feel that, you should, when I'm talking about shoulding on someone, it's saying the word should like all day long, right? It's like you should eat this, you should do that, you should talk to this person, you should call
And
that.
who do we know who does this the best? The internet and, our relatives.
Right, exactly. And then And then I always say don't should on yourself. Like don't should on yourself, right? And it's what you did when we were having that conversation. You were like, "Oh, I shouldn't feel this way," or "Oh, I shouldn't be dreaming about this right now," or "Oh, it's not the time for me to think about this." And I'm like, "No, go ahead. Take the time to dream. Like it's a perfect time to dream. Like why not?" It doesn't mean you're leaving tomorrow. But we're so afraid of letting people feel what they feel, and we're afraid of letting people. It comes down to fear, actually. That's what I would say. And when you should on yourself or you should on someone else, you're basically performing gratitude that you don't feel. So it's not genuine, it's not authentic, it's really not kind,
Yeah.
actually. That's what I feel. It's like really not kind. And so, either direction is not authentic, whether you're doing it to someone else or you're doing it to yourself. So, and remember in doing this, what you and I are trying to do, right, with having these discussions is like first let people into what we're talking about and the kind of conversations that we have are the things we think about, right?
Yeah.
Because Ask Penjie is inspiring people to become critical thinkers and question the norm, question the everyday, behaviors and life.
Yeah.
Um, but it's really also realizing things that can be sold as wellness or, personal development or, self-help and things like that can harm us, actually.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we don't think about. We just think like, oh, this is like amazing and gratitude's perfect. And yes, but there's two sides to it. That's what I feel.
Yeah, and I also think people want to package wellness, especially the wellness industry. They want to package these things as products, right? To move a product. So they tie it with a neat little ribbon and they tell you, it's perfect and clean and it looks like this. But a lot of times, including gratitude, these practices of feeling and appreciating and our emotions and this awareness, it's messy too. It's dirty, it's heavy, it's scary, it's all these different things. So it's like you're describing, it doesn't always look one way. It's not like
Yeah.
a perfect little
Exactly. It's
formula.
messy. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
messy. And I want us to give ourselves permission to feel and permission to go through what we're going through. And, grief is one of the biggest things, right? Like people will say like, you should go see a movie. Like you shouldn't still be sad. Like you shouldn't be
Mhm.
feeling that way. And, it's just, again, we should not be shooting on people. We shouldn't, like instead ask a question. Like, would it feel good to go see a movie, or things like that? If you have an idea or a suggestion or something like that. But I think when you say you should, sometimes we feel obligated, and we don't even realize that you know, maybe they're just uncomfortable with emotion. So they're trying to tell us what to do, but it might not be best for us.
Yeah, and
But
I
we don't
think
want to be grateful and be like, oh my God, they're just like such a good friend. And they're always like, giving me advice. And it's like, but maybe it's not good advice.
yeah, and
Maybe it's,
I think we do it to ourselves too. Like,
yeah.
I should work out, I should this, I should, instead of letting yourself have a moment of wherever you're at or whatever you're thinking you're feeling, because the world moves so fast and we're all gratitude is a slow practice. It's a practice of presence, right? So it's the opposite of the world moving, moving, moving. So when you say you should, it's because people try to speed run you to the next thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And when we do that to ourselves, like, oh, I should work out, but I'm really tired, right? Well,
Hmm.
what would be a really good way around that? Be like, you know what? I'm gonna lay down for 20 minutes and I'm gonna like rest and align my energy and close my eyes and then I think I'll work out. And then
Yeah.
or maybe you tune in and you ask Penji and you say, like, what does my body need right now? Does my body need rest or does it need to work out? Like, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, so that's, getting off topic, but anyway.
It's on topic.
Yeah.
How would you say this shows up in parenting specifically?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that because I wanted to kind of talk about when this came to my mind and, how it showed up in, when I had little kids and when you guys were young and things like that. And, one of the first ways that I could so the reason that we do this as a society, I think, and in our cultures is because we're being performative because we're trying to get approval and not be judged by our family members and we cover it up with the word manners. Like we're teaching
Yeah.
people manners, right? And I have a particular example that I'm going to tell you actually from when you guys were little because you were pretty sharp. You were pretty sharp, and you guys sometimes the way that you reacted and the way that you showed up, it inspired me to think about why you were feeling like that. So whereas another parent might be like, well, that's rude and that's disrespectful. And I didn't even like those words. I never use those words. I would always be like, I wonder why they said that. I wonder why they're feeling like that. Right. And I was just so curious. And so my research became saying the words, I wonder, like, I wonder. So one time you were given a gift that was, I believe, forced upon you, right? By like a friend. And they looked at me and said, well, they need to say, like, please before I give it to them. And I'm like, she's 3. Like, what? Just give it to her. Like, what do you mean? Like, she doesn't have to say please for you to give the gift that you want to give, right? And I just, I did not like the performative manners. I liked to model manners. Like you know that growing up with me, like I'm polite and like that with everyone, right? Whether it be like
Yeah.
someone at the post office or a waiter, like you would learn manners, right? But I
Hmm.
never wanted them to be forced. I wanted them to be modeled. And like what would be the appropriate time to say those words, right? And when you're just like forcing it and force teaching it and shoving it, and actually to me, like making it's almost like making a pet like perform, like if they want the treat, like sit, you need to sit before I give you the treat. Like I never felt that that was appropriate for parenting. So my example would be also somebody would give you a gift and then you open it and you don't say anything. Like one time you ran away and the person was like, they didn't even say thank you. And I'm like, she's a little girl. Like, and I would say thank you for you. I'd say, oh, thank you. That was so nice of you. Right. And then later, like, say I went to talk to you and I would say, like, what did you think about that gift? And, you would say something like, I didn't like it. It's not, I didn't want it. Why? And you like one time you said to me, and of course I don't remember the age and I don't want to be like held to this, but I remember you saying, why would I say thank you when I didn't want it? Like, I
Mm.
don't know what that means. And I think that's the thing, what I mean about performative. It's like, what are we teaching? Right? Like, are we teaching just, blind obedience? Are we teaching just like, like you just have to like perform like a circus trick? Right? Like well, somebody gave you something, you should be thankful. And then what's the saying? People would say, you should just be happy they thought of you. Right? Well, it's like,
Yeah,
well,
it's a tricky gray area
yeah.
because like so much of life is performing. And as much as we all hate to admit that, because we want to live in authenticity, it's like when you do perform, you get treated better. Like life rewards you in a way, right? So it's a confusing thing because like you don't want a lot of thoughts on it. It's making me think. It's like spiraling into all
Okay,
these
well, think about it for a
but
second. Let me finish what I was saying. Just because I want to make sure that it's not taken out of context, I'm not saying I don't believe the other things are
yeah, no,
important.
no, no, don't disclaimer. I like what you're
Yeah.
saying. Keep saying
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is when you are actually educating a child, right, or a human being, they wonder why. They don't understand it, right? And so that's why I was talking about this blind compliance and obedience. It's like when you would speak up and I would need to think about it, I would be like, huh, that's so interesting that you said that, right? And I would say, yeah, well, we can be grateful that somebody thought of us. And then you would say, well, I'm not grateful because they didn't listen to me. Like they don't know what I
Yeah, see,
like.
that's now you're mentioning something I remember.
Okay, okay.
Up
Sorry.
until now, I was too little, I think, to remember the story.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you're sharing it. But I meant I couldn't add anything because I don't remember. But I do remember that because that would happen as I got a little older too. I felt, I don't want to get into like it's a different topic, but I would feel unheard. And these are supposedly, sometimes it was friends or people, who didn't know me, so that's less personal. But sometimes it was people who really knew me or I thought, right? And it makes you feel unheard. You're like, why would they get what? Like, this is not me at all. This doesn't make any sense. And it almost made me upset, even as a kid, because I'm like, this person clearly doesn't care about me. Like, if they know me, they'd know I don't like this. So it's yeah.
Yeah, like there's certain things I don't love that you would know not to get me, right? There's certain
Yeah.
like reptiles
Yeah,
that
I'm
I
not gonna
that
buy you. Yeah.
we shall not speak of their name. But you know that you would not buy it, and you wouldn't expect me to be grateful that you thought of me
Yeah,
because
that I
you know what I'm
gifted
saying?
you.
Yeah, so we're getting into the like the nitty gritty, but that's what I'm trying to go deeper than just the topical, right? Of
Yeah.
course. And when you guys were little, when I had little kids, I always thought that it was my role to do the gratitude, you know, like I would say like, "Oh, thank you for thinking of the girls," or you know, things like that. Like that's fine. Then we push them away, right? But then we I'm sorry, I don't mean push them away. I mean we uh
We're giving them the thanks.
what they want. Yeah,
Yeah,
and we're
and
and
you're
yeah,
not expecting a 3-year-old to know the difference between performative gratitude and real
yeah.
gratitude.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's really hard to explain because it's such a foreign concept to feel this way, you
Yeah.
know, but that's why we have the show because we're going deeper.
Deep, deep, deep.
Deep, deep, deep. Yeah.
Um, the next
So,
the next one I was going to say, so is there a healthier way in to all of this?
well, okay. So the way that I feel, the way that I feel before I go into that is I was just going to say, I think when we're taught from such a young age, right? When we are raised and we are raising, you know, other children to grow up in this forced gratitude world, I think that is when it starts for us to feel bad to desire. That is when I also have an entire podcast on the Prana Boost show about desire. Um, we can actually link to both of those podcasts so people can kind of understand desire and the you know the benefits of it and give themselves permission to do it. But I think just to touch on that, when we're doing it from a very young age, we are teaching people to feel bad about what they want in life. We are teaching people to settle. We are teaching people to be polite, you know, and polite can also get you into trouble. When you say it can get you further or in life, it can also hold you back in life because it
No,
can
I
be
agree. This is such a good point because that's something that's been taught for millennia to women to be passive and
mhm,
you get more,
polite.
yeah, to be polite. And the truth is it doesn't get you anywhere. It gets you walked all over like a doormat. So it's yeah, it's that's different than the other thing I was saying about yeah, people want you to be compliant, but then the truth is being compliant doesn't get you further. Or it doesn't
Well,
get yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but what I was going to say was that is why this show is so important to us, is because we want you to tune into your intuition because there is no blanket practice, there is no blanket method, there is no generalization of how someone should act. It should be situational. It should
Hmm.
be in the moment. Oh, I guess I'm using the word should, but what's another word? See, it's so ingrained in me as well. It can be, right? It's best to be situational, right? You tune in, you see how you feel, you decide if you want to speak up, you decide if you're safe to speak up, you decide if you are you know, uh wanting to stay in a relationship or a job or you know that is how people get mistreated and abused all the time because they say well I should be grateful because they bring home a paycheck. I should be grateful because you know my boss is going to give me a promotion. Well, and maybe you're in an abusive situation but instead you're telling yourself to be grateful and you're trying to see the toxic positivity side of it. So it's
Yeah.
very 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 based on intuition.
Yeah, so bring it back around, the
Yes.
danger of gratitude is really, in many ways, it's excusing
Hmm.
feelings. It's
Yes,
excusing behaviors.
exactly. Exactly. So when you asked about what's a healthier way, I think one is to understand about like aligning energy and aligning your emotions first, right? Like you don't want to skip to gratitude. You don't want to be like, "Oh my God, I'm so mad. I can't believe that I had this flat tire," right? Like and I'm going to be late to work and everything and then you'd be like, "Well, I should just be grateful that I'm safe and I should be grateful that AAA came and I should be grateful that I even have a car." It's like, "No, feel what you're feeling." Feel, you know, like later that night, you can say like, "Wow, that was a crazy day." And I'm really grateful that I'm healthy and I didn't get hurt and I'm grateful that I had help. But you don't need to do gratitude in the same moment that you're feeling the emotion or having the experience.
Yeah.
So I think timing of gratitude is a healthier way to look at it also. Like, I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, I agree. I love that. And I like what you said earlier about it coming through later in the day or naturally or not. Yeah, again, not.
and coming from yourself, like coming
Yeah.
from within rather than you spoke to your, friend and your friend is like, well, it could have been so much worse. And I had this huge accident once and you're like, okay, you're dismissing everything I went through today. And you're dismissing everything I'm feeling and you're asking me to dismiss it, and maybe somebody's crying and they're so sad and you're like, people do this even in death, they like you're upset and grief stricken and somebody's like, well, at least they're not going to suffer anymore. Let's
Yeah.
be grateful for that. And it's like, okay, that may be true, but that's not the right time when you're in the emotion to dismiss it and bypass it and shift to gratitude.
Yeah.
Maybe later you're thinking like, oh, that was really hard. It was hard to be in hospice. It was hard to go to the hospital every day, like and then maybe you say, I am grateful to sleep in my bed, but you're not going to say, I'm grateful that they're gone. So gratitude can also be, you don't want to force yourself to be grateful about things you're not grateful for, and you can have a practice of gratitude for things that are not even related to that topic. So, like, say, for instance, I wrote this gratitude poem actually. I should read it. It's funny. It's one time when I couldn't sleep. I wrote it for myself and I called it gratitude poem or something because I didn't know what to call it, but I couldn't sleep. So I shifted into like a gratitude practice because I was feeling very anxious. Should I read it or is that silly? Or I could do a
No,
video.
read it.
Okay, I could read it, but I have to look for it. But I shifted into gratitude because well, I should say gratitude and appreciation because I was feeling very anxious. But I myself was choosing to do it. I was not talking myself out of it, but I
You
was,
know what? Don't worry about finding it right now. We'll read it. If you want to hear Mom's gratitude poem, you go follow us on Instagram. I'll also probably post it on YouTube Shorts too.
okay.
YouTube, Instagram, TikTok at Ask Penjie. Go find it. We'll post
Yeah.
Mom's poem.
Okay. Anyway, yeah. So does that kind of like make sense? Like, you
Yeah, I
know,
honestly, before we get into our last thought, I was just gonna say the thing that it makes me feel is that and this is something I've moved into more in my life kind of naturally, and it phased into this, and now I'm realizing it really works for me, which is I've always been I'm a very intellectual person, so I intellectualize my feelings. I think sometimes more than I feel. And I noticed as I got more in touch with my emotions and my feelings and I learned how to process things better, that gratitude came through naturally as a result of that and as a feeling. So it's not an
it's like a
intellectual,
byproduct rather
it's a,
than a method.
yeah, gratitude is a byproduct of the mindset
Mm,
work that I've done and of being in
I
tune,
love that.
present, and feeling rather than this forced logical practice. So, like going back to my coffee analogy, I'll find myself just doing something and I just feel grateful. Like I just feel grateful in that moment. And I think that energy is where we actually manifest and desire from successfully rather than this yeah. Does that make sense? But like like feeling it versus thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I
Yeah.
mean, that's actually what I was thinking when I thought of it. Like, literally, I would one day I was just like, I want to talk about the dangers of gratitude because I feel like it could be dangerous. And then you try to like unpack that and figure out how can you explain that to someone, and what I was thinking and what I was feeling. And it's just sort of like an observation, of life and like what could we do to everything we're trying to do and discuss is, like how to feel better. Like, oh, like, gosh, that doesn't feel good. I wonder what could feel better. And I wonder how we could give ourselves permission to feel better in general. So I think we have to understand both sides of the gratitude. So I think, I would just love for you guys, whoever's listening, to consider, right? Like, this is an invitation to you to consider maybe just observing yourself this week, and observing the people around you and try to figure out when gratitude and appreciation feel genuine. Like when does it really like come through you and when are you actually feeling it versus like an obligation that somebody told you to feel it or somebody was, like you or somebody else was forcing it upon yourself. Or do you do it to other people? Like,
Mm-hmm.
try to have the awareness of how you show up, because we've all done it. We've
Mm-hmm.
all done it, right? Until we have awareness and we catch ourselves in the act of doing it, it's not like we are above anyone else. Like, we're in society doing all these things too. We're just kind of bringing them to the surface so we can talk about it and maybe improve upon it.
Totally. I love it.
Perfect. So now we can get into our crystal of the week.
Really quick before
Oh,
our crystal of the
oh,
week, we'll do our check-in
I
chat
forgot.
question. No, it's okay.
I forgot.
What's our
Yes.
question of the week?
Okay, so I had a question, and I have some people who are actually training, and learning how to use their Penji, and they would, when you first use your Penji, sometimes because okay, so you'll see I'm gonna hold it like right in front of me, and you'll see that I'm not asking it anything, and it's moving. I'm not moving. I'm not asking anything. It's just moving. Well, sometimes, so you build a relationship with your Penji and it, it works on your energy and your connection. And so in time, mine would just, like I said, move like that. But sometimes somebody gets their Penji and it doesn't do anything. They're just like, hi, Penji, like, nice to meet you. And, they're like, please show me my yes. And it just sits, I'm going to try to hold it still because mine doesn't hold still. And it just sits there. And you're like, that's weird. Like, how come it's not moving? And I just want to remind everybody that it takes time to build a relationship with this metaphysical tool, right? Because it's connecting to your energy field, right? And how connected are you when you're using it? And how connected are you to this new tool? And as you're learning, so like even, I would learn to say, I would like bigger swings, right? The way it swings like back and forth. So maybe I'm pretending now because mine is too, sensitive. Say it's like this little itty bitty swing. And you're like, I think that's a yes. Is that a yes? I don't know if that's a yes, right? You're like, it's barely moving, right? And I'll say, ask for bigger swings, right? And you say, please show me bigger swings, bigger answers, right? And all of a sudden it's going like that, right? Like I'll have some times where I'm doing it and it's like almost hitting me in the chest or the face because it's like this, right?
Yeah,
It's
wow.
just I once had a pendulum jump out of my hands and
I remember that.
it literally like broke because it like I was like, what? And like it jumped out of my hand. So the question was, what do I do if my Penji is not moving at all? And I would say, give it time,
Hmm.
because it takes practice, and also make sure that your energy is aligned. And we have a lot of practices for that. But just know that you're building a relationship, and it takes time to grow the trust and also grow the connection.
Absolutely. That's a really good
That was
question.
a good question.
Hmm. Now we can get into crystal of the week.
Okay. Um,
Crystal of the week. I always say it like that
I
for
know. I love the crystal song. I love the crystal song that you say. Okay. So, I love this crystal, and I know that I have been sharing with everybody how important it is to communicate with the angelic realm and your higher self and your spirit guides. So this week, it's blue celestite. Isn't that beautiful?
stunning. I love it. It looks
It's
magical.
It's so magical. So celestite is for accessing higher dimensions. Like it's for angelic communication. So when you want to talk to the archangels, right? And you want to ask them for help in your life, you want to go to higher realms. There's a lot of divine power flowing through this crystal. Let's see. I'm reading it now at this point just because I want to remember. Um, it's one of the most effective stones for communication, right, with the spirit world. And that's what we're looking to do, right? We're looking to communicate with our intuition. So it's a very good stone for that. It's a third eye chakra stone, a crown chakra stone. So that is for the intuition and spirituality and connection. It can help you with and we're going to talk about this in another podcast, but it can help you with your actual psychic abilities. So I know we all have different kinds and we'll teach about that, and they're called the clairs. So
Hmm.
that's like how we receive information, whether we see, hear, feel, taste, smell, our intuitive guidance, right? And so yeah, it helps. You know how you were kind of saying that you intellectualize a lot of things, it helps with that, with like, mental disciplines, and it can help you with like your language or learning a language. And I always want to see what it's helped for healing, dissolving pain, bringing in love. and it's a good throat chakra. Yeah.
Love it. So it's third eye and throat.
Well, it doesn't say throat, but it's good for like learning to use your voice, actually.
Mm,
So, yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah. So technically, throat chakra,
Okay, okay.
yeah. Your
Yeah,
upper chakras, actually.
I love it. Well, this was a pretty hefty episode, and that's just the
Yeah.
tip of the iceberg of this conversation.
Yeah.
But it was really good.
Thank you so much. It was such a good conversation, and I'm so grateful that we can talk about these topics and, you know,
Me too.
and see how you feel about them.
I'm interested to see if anybody has any thoughts. If you guys do, comment down below. Tell us, tell us, tell us. Remember to subscribe and hit that little notification bell. And if you're listening on audio, rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you're listening. Remember to follow us at Ask Penjie and go to askpenjie.com and sign up with your email to join Ask Penjie Society and get your own Penjie. This is so exciting. This is a really good episode. And once again, we have so much in the works, and we're so excited for you guys to be a part of it and learn about it and stay in touch with our community. So if you feel called to, definitely go check out those resources. And in the description of the podcast, wherever you're listening to it on YouTube or on audio, I will put the links to Mom's other episodes from the Prana Boost show. So you can listen to those too that we mentioned today.
Amazing. And I just want to thank our fans because we do have some fans already. We have people who are
Ew.
like, yeah, we do. I have people that are writing me like, I haven't missed an episode and I listen to every episode and I love, hearing you guys. And yeah, so we're really grateful because I know that
So
everybody
grateful.
has, limited time and I appreciate everybody who's listening to us. We
We
appreciate you.
love it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll see you next week on Mystic Like My Mama.
Bye.
Bye, you guys.